Brian, and when you give me the heads up, I'll start. All right. So on my screen, I see Committee Member Glenn and Committee Member Moore-Colburn. Do we have regrets from our other two members? Or do I just not see them on my screen?
Through Chair, we only received regrets from Member Elgin. Macmillan. I think Member Ledresse is on her way. She just hasn't signed in yet.
That sounds good. Well, when we see her, I will welcome her. And until then, seeing that we have quorum here and it is past the hour of 5, I'll call the meeting to order. So now calling this Committee of Adjustment meeting to order, we'll do the territorial acknowledgement. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge with respect the history and living culture of the Anishinaabe, the people of the Three Fires known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi Nation, who have inhabited this land from time immemorial. We recognize that these lands are the territories of the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash, collectively known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, the keepers of this land. Georgian Bluffs is located on lands encompassed by Treaties 45.5, 72, 82, and 93. We reflect on our role as treaty people and the need to live in respect and peace and show respect to the First Peoples who inhabit these lands and waters. I will move to the approval of the agenda, asking for a mover and a seconder that the agenda be approved as presented. Moved by Committee Member Glenn, seconded by Committee Member Moore-Colburn. Is there any discussion? I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is carried. Committee Member Moore-Colburn, if you raise your hand to your right at all, it's off our screen. So just maybe shade that. That's perfect. Thank you. So I'll ask for a declaration. I'll have the that reflect that I voted affirmative in that recommendation. So we have no new applications or new business. We have one item of unfinished business, Dev 2025-32, severance application B025 for Hydolph. This was deferred at a previous meeting on February 20th, requesting council direction on the deregistration of Plan 180 and the transfer of Louise Street. This application is now being brought back to the Committee of Adjustment for consideration. This is a meeting of Committee of Adjustment to consider the application for severance for Marietta Hydolph under Section 53 of the Planning Act regarding property located at 501-241 Gray Road 1, Georgian Bluffs. Mr. Secretary Treasurer, please go ahead with your review.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There have been no requests for deferral or withdrawal of the application. Notice of this severance in accordance with Ontario Regulation 197-96 made under the Planning Act was given on November 12, 2024 by mail to all property owners within 60 meters of this property and is subject to the application and to all required agencies. Notice was also posted on the subject lands and the township's website. To any public watching, if you wish to be notified of the decision of the Committee of Adjustment, you must make a written request to the Secretary Treasurer of the Committee. Only a person or public body that requests a notice of decision of the Committee in respect to this proposed severance may submit an appeal.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary Treasurer. I will now read the recommendation. It has been demonstrated that the proposed application is consistent with the Niagara Escarpment Plan, conforms to the county official plan, and complies with the general intent and purpose of the Township of Georgian Bluffs Zoning Bylaw 2020-20. It is recommended that the consent applications B025-24 be approved, subject to the following conditions. Welcome, committee member Ladresse. We are just reading the recommendation for item 7.1, severance application for High Dolphin. I'm going to start that whole recommendation right from the start again because I forgot where I left off, and I'm welcomed committee member Ladresse. It has been demonstrated that the proposed application is consistent with the Niagara Escarpment Plan, conforms to the county official plan, and complies with the general intent and purpose of the Township of Georgian Bluffs zoning bylaw 2020-20. It is recommended that consent applications B0524 be approved, subject to the following conditions: that a reference plan be completed and a copy filed with the municipal clerk, or an exemption from the reference plan be received from the Land Registry Office. 2, that pursuant to Section 53, paragraph 42 of the Planning Act, the certificate of consent be affixed to the deed within 2 years of the giving of notice of decision, or as specified in the Planning Act at the time of the deed stamping. Note, Section 53, paragraph 43 of the Planning Act requires that the transaction approved by this consent must be carried out within 2 years of the issuance of the certificate. That the applicant pays the applicable consent certification fee at the time of the certification, of the deeds. That the applicant pays 5% cash in lieu of parkland in accordance with the Planning Act. 5, that as recommended by the Township Council, a quitclaim be enacted which delivers a transfer for nominal consideration to the owner in respect of Louise Street, as described in Plan 180 and identified by PIN 37023-0312 LT. And 6, that as recommended by Township Council, a bylaw be enacted deeming Plan 180 to not be a registered plan of subdivision for the purpose of sections 50, paragraph 3, and in accordance with section 50, paragraph 4 of the Planning Act. Looking for a mover and a seconder. Moved by committee member Ladresse and seconded by committee member Moore-Colburn. Could the planner give us a summary of the planning report regarding this file?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As the committee is aware, the subject lands total 7.62 hectares with an additional 3.2 hectare water lot, which is not part of the application, extending into Colby's Bay. The subject lands are separated from the water lot by the Township Shoreline Road Allowance, as noted on the attached sketch that was provided in the report. Application B0524 proposes to sever an area of approximately 4.16 hectares for residential use and 9.696 end of the long day hectares containing a house and accessory structures, including the 3.22 hectare water lot, will be retained for continued residential use. It should also be noted that the application was originally intended to go before the Committee of Adjustment at the February 20th, 2024 meeting, but was withdrawn to allow the applicant and her consulting and legal teams an opportunity to further assess their approach to the development of these lands. This matter was then brought before the December 10th, 2024 meeting of the Committee of Adjustment. At that meeting, the application was deferred pending a council decision on the deregistration of the 1903 plan of subdivision and also that exists on the land, and the transfer of an unused road allowance, Louise Street, associated with that 1903 plan back to the applicant. The deregistration of Plan 180 and the transfer of Louise Street was brought before the March 12th, 2025 Committee of the Whole Meeting Council for consideration, and at that meeting, the following recommendations were endorsed. 1, that the council directs township staff to proceed with a quitclaim which delivers a transfer for nominal consideration to the owner in respect of Louise Street, as described in Plan 180 and identified by PIN 37023-0312 on titles, and that council passes a bylaw deeming Plan 180 to not be a registered plan of subdivision for the purpose of Section 50-3 of the Planning Act, and Section 50-4 of the Planning Act as well. I should note that because this is a kind of a a longer application in terms of its timing. We did, during the initial circulation, received comments from the Source Water Management Office, and those comments were received a little over a year ago in January 2024, and they noted that they didn't have any concerns with it. The Saugeen Ojibwe Nation's Archaeological Department originally were asking for an archaeological assessment. And in the interim, the consultant team has reached out to SON for clarification. And essentially, because the current zoning on the subject land is planned development and does not allow the subject lands to be developed without going through a zoning amendment, that the amendment process, SON agrees that the amendment process, that zoning amendment, would trigger the need for an archaeological assessment to be completed at that time. Grey County Planning and Development Services also provided comments back in February of last year, and they were looking for a species at risk study and some setbacks from the Centerline Grey County Road 1. More recent dialogue with Grey County Planning Department has indicated that the county supports deregistration of Plan 180 and the transfer of Louis Street. And they also have noted that the completion of the species at risk study will not be necessary at this time, as the severed and retained lands are not proposed for immediate development. They also recognize that any such future development would trigger a rezoning amendment, which would then trigger the need for a species at risk study and appropriate setbacks from Grey Road 1. That's the extent of the comments. Just looping back to the quick claim and the deeming bylaw for Louis Street and Plan 180. Township staff have had some preliminary discussions with the township's legal team, and they're working on they will be working on the quick claim, I guess, application or process in concert with the consultants, a solicitor as well. Both legal teams are under the same legal firm, Aird Burroughs, so that kind of makes things a little bit easier. And the quick claim process will be completed in advance of the deeming bylaw, because the Louis Street is part of the plan of subdivision, so we need to have that claim process completed first, and then once that's done, then we'll go through the deeming bylaw to deregister the Plan 180. Last thing, I just wanted to note that the consultant planner, Michael Pizzamenti, is also in attendance, and he may wish to provide some comments.
Thank you. I will now call upon the applicant to provide comments. Please state your first and last name for the record prior to beginning.
Good evening, through the chair, members of the committee and staff. My name is Michael Pizzamenti from Weston Consulting, and I'm representing Marietta Haydoff, the owner of the property. I just wanted to thank Michael Benner for his help through this process, and to you committee members for your time tonight. I just wanted to highlight that there are no plans for development in place, and that, as Michael Benner mentioned, no development would be allowed due to the restrictive zoning. And at that time, the appropriate studies would be completed. I also wanted to emphasize that the site has access off of 2 roads, Grey Road 1 and Winter Street, and that we agree with the staff report recommendation and the proposed conditions of approval. I do have a presentation ready, but I'm more happy to just answer any questions you may have and give refreshers as needed. So if there's any questions you have, please let me know.
Thank you. As no members of the public registered to provide comment, I now call upon any members of the public in attendance who may wish to make comment on this application. Please state your first and last name for the record prior to beginning. So, Mr. Planner.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, now acting as Secretary Treasurer, we do not have any other public in attendance for this evening.
All right. Thank you very much. So I'll now turn to my committee colleagues. Are there any points raised by the planner, applicant, or public that the committee wishes to respond to? Okay, committee member Glenn, let's see. Saw your hand first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and through you to the applicant's consultant. So on the piece that's being severed in plan development, you said there's no intention for development on it. Is there intent that it's going to be transferred or sold in the near future?
If I may, our understanding is that this is being done for estate planning purposes. Whether it's being sold or transferred to a family member, we're unaware of that. We just know it's for estate planning purposes at this time, and there are no plans for development.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Committee member Moore-Coburn.
Thank you, Chair Thompson. This question is for Mr. Benner. And I think it's just a process question. So we've referenced the Committee of the Whole meeting on March 12th a couple of times in this report. Help me understand why we wouldn't be referencing the decision made by council at a council meeting following the Committee of the Whole meeting, because I would have thought that would have been done, given that the recommendations made by Committee of the Whole are not complete or endorsed at that point by council.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. That's actually a really good point. So normally you have your Committee of the Whole meeting, and then those comments and decisions or recommendations made at the Committee of the Whole meeting are then ratified at the following council meeting. Just looking at my calendar on the side, the council meeting that those recommendations would have appeared at was as the one we just had last week, and this staff report needed to be put in the queue, so to speak, in advance of that council meeting. So if you bear with me for just a second, I just want to make sure that the meeting minutes from the March, the whole meeting actually made it to the April 9th session.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I would have thought that would have come on the following council meeting on the 19th of March. That would have been the next council meeting, but maybe there's a lag there. I'm not sure.
Through Mr. Chair, you are correct. They would have. They did appear on the March 19th meeting, and it does appear that those. I don't have the minutes from the March 19th council meeting available to me yet, but the recommendations that I provided in this report were reflected in that council meeting.
Thank you.
Mr. Pizzamenti.
Did
I say that right?
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I believe the video is posted on YouTube, and the motion was to approve all Committee of the Whole recommendations in one motion.
And thank you. And that's typically how it's done. I think probably it would have been more useful had this report referenced that did pass at a council meeting rather than just at Committee of the Whole. But as long as that's been done, then that's helpful to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion, committee members? If there's no further discussion, I will now call a vote on the motion as presented. All those in favor? Oh, that motion is carried. I'll now call for an adjournment of this public hearing. Looking for a mover and a seconder. Moved by committee member Glenn, seconded by committee member Ladresse. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Our next Committee of Adjustment meeting will be as regularly scheduled on May 20th, 2025 at 5 p.m. If there is no further business, I will now call for an adjournment of the meeting. Looking for a mover and seconder. Moved by committee member Glenn, seconded by committee member Ladresse. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Good night, folks. Thanks very much.